I'm Dr. John, and this is your Maintenance Minute. A subscriber wrote to me and asked if I could do a segment on bill of materials. I can talk about bill of materials all day long, but don't worry, I'm not actually going to do that. However, in my book, second book, Cover Your Assets, there is an entire chapter on bill of materials, chapter number 4. Good read, good information. Here's what you need to know about bill of materials. First of all, what is a bill of materials? Whatever product you're making or whatever pharmaceutical, food, whatever it is that you're making, the bill of materials for your product is everything that goes into making one of those. If, on the other hand, we're talking about the equipment bill of materials, that is everything that it takes to make one of those assets. If, in fact, this simple calculator was an asset we're trying to maintain, the bill of materials is everything it takes to make one of these, including the plastic molded bits, the springy thing that makes this happen, all the little rubbery buttons, the circuitry in here, the little glass readout. It's also solar powered, so it's got whatever that contraption happens to be, but it's all the things it takes to make one of these. The bill of materials is really important for supporting an asset because in the storeroom, we're only going to stock items that appear on the bill of material for the asset we're trying to maintain. We're not going to stock every part on the bill of materials, but only the parts on the bill of materials are the ones that we're going to stock. We wouldn't, for example, stock this computer mouse in support of this calculator because they don't go together. That doesn't make any sense, right? We would stock the kind of components that help us maintain this calculator. In fact, I talked several weeks ago, I talked about inherent reliability, the way a piece of equipment is designed, built, and installed. That contributes to what's called the inherent reliability. That's how an asset comes to our plant. Our job then becomes to maintain that asset at that inherent reliability level. One of the ways that we do that is to replace parts with like parts. That maintains that inherent reliability. Anytime that I use a different part than the one that came with it, I chip away at that inherent reliability. I don't accidentally make it better. I'm probably chipping away and making it less and less. So we need to know what are the components that are on that asset that make it do what it's supposed to do, right? And then we stock those parts. Again, not all the parts. I believe it's the equipment bill of materials that brings everyone together. Everyone ought to be interested and knowledgeable about what are the components on the assets that make that asset perform the function or the work that we need it to. Let's say, for example, you have a simple conveyor and it's got a 10 horsepower motor. Well, as we've discussed many times, that conveyor is literally printing the paychecks for your company. It's providing the revenue for your business. We all should be crazy about that motor. What kind of motor is it? Is that the motor that came with it? Is that motor on the bill of materials? Do we have that motor in stock? Where do we get that motor if we need it? Because if we get a different 10 horsepower motor, we're likely to chip away at the inherent reliability of that conveyor. And then 10 years from now, the conveyor is unrecognizable because we've just replaced parts willy-nilly. That bill of material connects all of us. Now, some people ask, John, to what level do you create a bill of materials? How far down do you go? To the nuts and the bolts? Well, that's how the machine was built, to the nuts and the bolts. The engineers designing this thing designed it with the adequate nuts and bolts that were needed. I came out of aircraft maintenance. I can assure you that whenever we needed a nut or a bolt on one of our airplanes in the military, we didn't just go to the fasten all bin and get whatever nut and bolt fit in that hole. We got the right nut and the right bolt, because we knew that that was going to contribute, obviously, to the safety and the reliability of the aircraft. So you may drill down that far. In fact, Maintenance Innovators has created it's a workshop, really, and a workbook that goes with it. It's based on some ISO standards, and we develop bill of materials around the world, and we do it in a very structured and a very metered way in accordance with ISO standards. 14224, I believe, is the standard. It's an exceptional workbook, and it's an exceptional workshop. I'm suggesting that you have a strong bill of materials. Take it down to the level that you think that you need to. I'm suggesting nuts and bolts, quite honestly, folks. Look, the number 2 killer on a lot of our components is vibration, and something that contributes to vibration is not having it tight and fastened properly, because we're just going over to the fasten all bin and we're getting whatever nuts and bolts that happen to be available. But that isn't what appears on the bill of materials, right? So we want to have a good solid bill of materials, and from that we need to determine what we're going to stock. Also from the bill of materials, we can determine exactly what the components are, and we can develop some really rock solid preventive and predictive maintenance strategies. Look, I can talk all day on bill of materials, but I'm not going to. If you're interested in the book, it's got a great chapter on bill of materials. I can assure you, if you're interested in talking about bill of materials, let's have a conversation about it. I think this is a great place for us to start, and this protects the inherent reliability. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe And I hope that you have a good day and you take this message forward and you get a real rock solid bill of materials. I'm Dr. John, and this has been your Maintenance Minute.